Why, yes, I am sitting on my floor. Don't look at the dust bunnies. Just stop looking. Hi everyone, my name is Holly, and in today's video I am going to be downsizing my TBR tremendously. Basically a giant book unhaul. For those of you who have been following me for a while know that I have this out of control, monstrous TBR mountain range. Pile no longer applies, nor shelf, nor bookcase, or a room actually. 2018 was a huge eye-opener for me. I have definitely developed a certain taste for certain books. I know what I like, I know what I don't like. When you very first find your love for reading, if you're like me, if you haven't been reading since you were a child, I've only been reading since 2014, and also when you like just joined BookTube, you want to buy every single book that everyone is talking about, even when you don't really know what you like to read yet. That's kind of what happened to me. So I have all of these books still piled up from when I bought them in like 2015, 2016, and I know I'm not going to like them because I know, like I said, I know what I like to read. Also, just in general, I have been decluttering the fork out of everything. Like, I don't even want little knickknacks on my bookshelves anymore. It all has to go. I'm in this mindset right now where if I don't love it, it's okay to get rid of it. So this unhaul contains books that I used to love and no longer do, books that I know I'll never reread again, or books that I've read and I don't like, or books that I'm just not interested anymore. So let me show you what's in front of me actually right now. Just piles and piles of books, pretty large piles, and yeah, I'm gonna go through every single one of them, starting with the pile that is full of contemporary. As you guys know, I don't like contemporary. I don't willingly pick up a contemporary book. So starting with Pearl by Deidre Riordan Hall. I actually hate this cover and it creeps me out every time I see it. The Anatomical Shape of a Heart by Jen Bennett. I've heard this is like the epitome of insta-teen romance, and I just don't have enough room in my cringe tank for that. Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I read this last year, and I actually did a month where I only read the genre. I hated contemporary. It was an okay month, I guess, but this was one of the books I read. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but the main character and the love interest totally grossed me out the entire time. There's a sentence that said he was licking the back of her throat like he wanted to lick jam or something, and I was like, bleh. And I'll never reread this again, even though I did enjoy it. It doesn't need to be on my shelves. We Are All Made of Molecules by Susan Nelson. The Wrong Side of Right by Jen Marie Thorne. This is like a political insta romance contemporary. Don't need it. Come November by Katrin Van Dam. I got this in a unplugged book box that was sent to me, and I don't read contemporary, and unfortunately the book in that box was a contemporary book. Unfortunately. The Museum of Intangible Things by Wendy Wonder. First and Then by Emma Mills. I read my very first Emma Mills book last year, and it ended up being on my worst books of the year list, so that's unfortunate. The Loose Ends List by Carrie Firestone. I love this cover. That's the main reason why I bought this book in the first place a couple years ago, is because of this cover, but it's just taking up space. Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell. I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was okay, but it doesn't need to be on my shelves. Under Rose Tainted Skies by Louise Gornall. Yeah. Open Road Summer by Emery Lord. This book just totally screams not me. Like summer, country music, double This book honestly could not be more opposite of me if it tried. The Museum of Heartbreak by Meg Letter. And the final contemporary, I think I'm unhauling unless I missed one somewhere in here, but that is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I know what happens at the end of this book, and the plot centers around depression, and I just don't need that in my life, so it's gotta go. Alright, so now moving on to the fantasy that I'm getting rid of. Scarlet by A.C. Goggin. This book was actually in a fairly recent TBR video that I planned to read, and I never did, so I think that's a sign that I'm never going to. I have Dream On here by Kristen Gear. I have the first book, Dream a Little Dream, in this pile. I'm not sure where it is. We'll run into it sooner or later. This book just doesn't sound like something I'm going to enjoy. It's like a modern day fantasy that's set in London and stuff, and not something I'm interested in. Gilded Cage by Vic James, another one that's, I believe, is set in London. What in the world is that? I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't have anything that sounds interesting to me, unfortunately. And also they changed the covers for the series as well, and they look awful. So I'm never going to buy the sequel because I hate the cover. Ooh, here's a series that I have read. What's the series called? I'm not sure, but Ruby Red, Emerald Green, and Sapphire Blue by Kristen Gear. I read this series. I actually loved it when I read it a few years ago, but I have never thought about this series. It sits at the bottom of my shelves. I never mention it in like book tags or anything, so I don't need it anymore. If I ever want to reread the series, I think I would rather read it just in ebook form, but I honestly don't see myself doing that again. Alright, so this next series is definitely going to be controversial, that's for sure, but I am going to be getting rid of my box set of the Divergent series. You guys can go over to Kristen's channel, Super Space Chick, and yell at her for encouraging me to getting rid of these. I believe she commented on my bookshelf tour saying like, Divergent isn't worth reading. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, but I decided to read a few chapters of Divergent and see how I felt about it. I didn't like what I read, so I don't need these. We have another trilogy, and that's this one by Brody Ashton. It consists of Everneath, Everbound, and Evertrue. There's another trilogy similar to this situation, just I've owned it for so long and I'm not interested in reading it at all. I totally dread picking it up, which means I'm never going to. Aha! So this is the series that is in the similar situation. This one right here. It's like a YA fantasy paranormal about like angels or something. Not something I'm ever going to read, but it consists of Unearthly, Hollowed, and Boundless, and I'm sorry if that was out of order. Dull Bones by Holly Black. I have read this and I enjoyed it. It's a very, very light middle grade, but I won't read it ever again. Blood Rose Rebellion by Evelyn Eves. Another book that I think the plot just... it's to the point where like if I DNF the synopsis, then there's a problem. Julia Vanishes by Katherine Egan. Now, here's the thing about this book. I think it sounds really interesting. It's all about this girl who has the ability to not be invisible, but to be beyond people's sights. But I absolutely despise this cover with a fiery passion. Like, it's blurry. Well, obviously because of like the plot, like it goes along with the story. But come on, I'm already blind. You don't need to make it harder for me. The Kingdom Within by Samantha Gillespie. Deception's Princess by Esther Freisner. The next book is another kind of controversial one. My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. Now my reason for getting rid of this one is because it's a Jane Eyre retelling. I've never read Jane Eyre. I've never been interested in that classic. And my Tudor history is like awful. I don't really know anything about it. So I feel like I'm not going to enjoy this. I feel like I'm not going to understand the jokes. But hey, if you guys tell me like I'll still enjoy this even though I know zero things about Jane Eyre, then maybe I'll keep it, but we'll see. The Glass Arrow by Kristen Simmons. I've read this book and I enjoyed it. I actually contemplated on getting rid of it in my last book haul, but I couldn't do it. But I finally can. I think it's time to get rid of this one. Something happens to one of the characters in this book that I don't want to read about again. It concerns an animal, okay? And I'm not ready for those emotions again. Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie Ryan. Up next I have a duology, which consists of Forbidden by Kimberly Griffiths Little and Banished. Of Bone and Thunder by Chris Evans. This book was randomly sent to me unsolicited by I don't even freaking know a few years ago, and I never read it and I'm not really all that interested in it. It's signed though, which is cool, but yeah, this like randomly showed up in my mailbox. Like, where did you come from? Afterlife by Daniel Eonson. Yeah. The Mortal Instruments graphic novel edition. This book was in my worst books of the year video. I don't like the artwork and I didn't think it was written that well. Strands of Bronze and Gold by Jane Nickerson. Oh hey, here's Dream a Little Dream. Oh no, we've come to the series that's going to make everyone so sad, and even like my closest friends. I'm so sorry to do this to you all, but I'm going to unhaul The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I know, which consists of The Raven Boys. This is going to hurt with every book, I apologize. The Dream Thieves, The Raven King, Blue Lily Lily Blue. I know that was out of order. So I read The Raven Cycle in 2017 and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I wanted to love the series so bad. Kristen from Super Space Chick loves the series and I thought for sure that I was going to as well, but it just didn't mesh with me, and trust me, it hurts. And I've contemplated on going on to the second book, but a lot of you guys told me that if I didn't enjoy the first book, I wouldn't enjoy the second book because it's a lot slower paced, and I thought the first book was slower paced. And honestly, if I were to go on to the second book, I'd have to reread this book because I don't remember anything, and I don't want to do that. Like, I dread even thinking about rereading this book. I just don't want to. So in the end, I've just decided to unhaul it and give it to someone who's going to enjoy it way more than I will. It will find a good home. Maybe I'll try these like on audiobook or something. I know someone told me that these are really good in audiobook form, so maybe, I don't know. Renegade and Revelations by J.A. Souders. Deathsworn and Death Marked by Lee Cypress. This duology was a little bit hard to let go, but I know I'm not gonna get to it for another probably like 4 years. Not Even Bones by Rebecca Schaefer. This was in one of my monthly TBRs last year, and I tried reading it, but I ended up DNFing it about 25% of the way through. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. Mr. Katz is a Zombie by MC Lesh. This is a extremely light middle grade. In fact, I think it's a little bit lower than middle grade, but I don't need this. I don't need it. Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw. Read it. I didn't enjoy it, unfortunately. Alright, we're getting down to the last few books. Prophecy by Ellen O. I have another trilogy here that I'm getting rid of. It consists of Seeker, Traveler, and Disruptor. Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter. And the last books I have here is a duology, and that is Stray and Burn by Elisa Sussman. Just kidding, I lied. I actually totally forgot about this stack of books that I had kind of simmering off to the side of my room just to see if I missed them or if I changed my mind or anything, and I totally forgot about them. So obviously I have no emotional connection to them, so I'm going to go through these as well. So starting with more contemporary, I have The Way Back to You by Michelle Andrini and Mindy Scott. And then we have the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. I tried reading the first one and it just isn't something that I'm going to enjoy, so I'll pass it on to someone who will. Up next, I have This Song Will Save Your Life by Lila Sales. Rodent by Lisa L. Lawrence. Really cool cover. Up next, I have Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella, and I actually enjoyed this one, but it's not something I'm going to read again. Alright, we have some controversial contemporaries now. We have some Morgan Matson, which I've never read any of her books before, but I do own 2 of them. The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson and Since You've Been Gone. Haven't read them, and I'm actually just not interested. So since I'm not interested in contemporary at all, I'm especially not interested in like 500-page contemporaries. That just sounds like an absolute disaster to me, so someone else can enjoy these for sure. Up next is kind of another controversial one. I feel like everyone raved about this back in the good old days of YouTube, but The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. I'm actually not a big fan of magical realism, and I don't think this is something that I'm ever gonna pick up because I just dread that genre so much. Really pretty cover though. Another contemporary, this one was a little bit harder to get rid of, but then I put it in this pile and I totally forgot about it. Something Real by Heather Demetrios. Up next is a book that I read, Threnody by Kirk Withrow. This is actually a zombie apocalypse kind of book, and I enjoyed it. I give it 3 stars, I think, but it's not a book that I need to keep. Alrighty, up next we have a trilogy. Actually, no, it's not a trilogy. There's more books to this, but my trilogy, since I own the first 3 books, the Dorothy Must Die series. I've owned the series for so long, and I'm never going to get to it. Even though I have a few friends who really enjoyed it, I also have a few who hated it. And I just feel like it's not worth my time, and if I ever feel the need to read them, I'll read them on ebook. Up next is one that's kind of random, but it's Cinderella. It's kind of like the retelling of the live action movie. Alrighty, up next we have The Glittering Court by Rochelle Mead. So this is one where I bought it because it was hyped up to be a fantasy, but it's actually a historical fiction about like pretty dresses and stuff like that. And Rochelle Mead seems to be like a 3-star author to me. She hasn't blown me away yet, and I just don't feel like reading this one. Another one, Sword and Verse by Kathy Macmillan. This is a romance disguised as a fantasy. Totally looks like a fantasy, but literally all I've heard is that this is pure romance. And you guys know how I don't like romance, so I dread picking this one up. Then we have Burning Glass by Catherine Purdy. Just another one I've lost interest in. But this was an absolute cover buy for me because I just love this cover so much. This was sent to me forever ago. Seraphina and the Black Cloak. The author contacted me and asked me to review it, and I just never did. I don't know why I accepted it really. I mean, I really like middle grade, but I've lost interest in this one. So we have only a couple more. I have The X and Y by Virginia Bergen. Man, this book is getting so much hate. It has like a 2.9 on Goodreads right now with almost 1,000 reviews. I have no time for it. I got this sent to me from Sourcebooks unsolicited, so I don't feel too bad getting rid of it. It's supposed to be about like a world where only women have survived this disease or something. And the last book is The Breaking Dawn by Jane Castell. I read this a few years ago and I actually really enjoyed it. It's a historical fiction, kind of a dark, gritty adult historical fiction, which, like I said, I really enjoyed. It just doesn't fit my style anymore. Alright, now back to Past Holly. Okay, so those are all the books I will be unhauling, and that is it for my bi-monthly book unhaul. Tune in a couple months to see what else I get rid of. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up because it helps me out so much. Don't forget to subscribe. I upload videos every single week. Follow me on Instagram at Holly Hearts Books and on Twitter at Holly Niece. And until we meet again, happy reading.